Hello everyone, welcome to a new video for Popcat, Pepe and Dogecoin. We're gonna cover some meme coins in this video and we're gonna see what's gonna happen next. So starting with the Popcat on the daily chart where we have an A, B and a C towards the upside. Wave C finished as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and of course finishing with it a wave A in the blue scenario or a wave W in the magenta scenario. After both case scenarios, we are looking at a W, X and a Y here in double zigzags, of course, for this W, X, and a Y complex structure, taking the 886, meaning this is definitely a wave B or a wave X. After this, you would like to see, of course, a wave C toward the upside, which it can be, of course, an impulse, a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. It can be also a diagonal 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Of course, the wave 4 interfering with zone 1. Another possibility is that you have a zigzag here for a wave Y, A, B, C toward the upside, finishing a W, X, and a Y. Of course, the wave Y can potentially not take the high, but it can be also not just a zigzag, it can be as well kind of like a triangle. So this zigzag can continue into a triangle kind of, or it can be also a flat, as we know, for a wave Y. Now, because of course the W is a flat, so high possibility is a zigzag or of course a triangle. Inside this wave, which is an impulse toward the upside on the 2 hours chart, we are looking at an impulse definitely as diagonal, where we are looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, not a diagonal, I would say. This is only the trend line, but the wave 4 did not take the zone 1, by the way. And that means, of course, this is an impulse. And in this case scenario, you are looking at a wave 1 and a very complex structure. Again, corrective W and X, and then finally wave Y as a zigzag again for a wave 2. After this, we are starting to see here kind of like a leading diagonal 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Let's dive a little bit deeper inside this area. As you can see, we have kind of like an impulsive wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. However, on the 15-minute chart, this is kind of like a zigzag. If we go to the 15-minute chart to, of course, analyze this, you would like to see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wave 2. Wave 3 is not finished, of course, as an impulse. As you can see, you have a 1, 2, and 3, 4, and a 5, meaning only one impulse is in this move toward the upside, which makes it, of course, a zigzag here as a wave 1 in leading diagonal 1, 2, and then 3, 4, and a 5 potentially. But basically, in this area here, you can see also kind of like an impulse, but internally it still can be kind of like an A, B, and a C here. So again, on the 15-minute chart, you can see here that you might have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 for a wave A, having a wave B kind of here, and kind of like potentially an impulse here. Maybe this is the whole thing as a correction, definitely, and then moving toward the upside, one impulse as a wave C, very short, but still, of course, working well as an ABC. Finally, inside this wave here, we are looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Now, this is a kind of full impulse there. So what does it mean right now? You have zigzag, zigzag, and you have an impulse. Can it be, of course, here unfolding another zigzag? Well, possibly, but if this happens, which it is your wave 5 in a leading diagonal as a zigzag, it's not allowed to take the 1-to-1 fib level, taken from the wave 3 to the 4 to the 5 here, and that means the wave 5 start to be longer than wave 3, which is not allowed, of course, in diagonal. And that means, of course, something else is unfolding here. Potentially can be something corrective, right? Which it can be an A, B, and a C, where you have 3 waves up. You have a wave B kind of running flat, and you have a wave C toward the upside. Can be finished around the 1-to-1 fib level. Even one more high can be, of course, a potential. But if we take the 1-to-1 fib level again, we cannot consider anymore a diagonal here. You have to consider it corrective and moving toward the downside again, probably for one more low here for Popcat. So basically, I would say right now, highest possibility still, of course, for the diagonal. Probably if we move for higher, better to not take this price. And better, of course, to take the high without taking the price. I know it's a little bit hard, but it can still be. And that you get 3 ways toward the downside for a wave 2. In this case, I would say and call a bullish scenario. In case we move towards the downside right now, and you still, of course, in a zigzag here of 3 waves toward the upside, correction, and again 3 waves and impulse, of course, which is a wave B here, by the way, and you have finished a wave C impulsively here, we have to be careful, of course, from a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. And of course, the key level for this scenario is very simple. Taking the 886 again, in case, of course, this is still looking for lower. I would say if you are looking here for a wave 2 in a diagonal, in case this is your diagonal, or you are already in the 0.38. On the 15-minute chart, you can see that this can be something impulsive, but also can be something corrective because it looks like an A, B, and a C expanding flat with this wick toward the upside, A, B, and a C. And that means it is a characteristic, a little bit of correction. And we have to watch, of course, this area, guys. So if we are in an A, B, and a C here, you have to watch, of course, this area for a wave 2. If we break this area and we take the 886, therefore, we are looking for a new low, and potentially we're looking for this blue zone again, okay, which is not finished a wave 2, potentially one more low to finish a wave Y here. The wave Y might be A, B, and a C. Very simple. Yep, so this is regarding, of course, a Popcat. Let's move to the next one, which is Pepe. Pepe, on the all-time history, we are in a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. This is also an impulse toward the upside, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you have a very complex structure corrective here, W, X, Y, X, and a Z. Now, it can be, of course, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here on the bigger overview, but internally you cannot have it as an impulse because you have zigzags inside here. And that means this is a W, X, Y, X, and a Z, very complex structure. And after this, we see something kind of like an impulse, but again, it is not. And that because, let's move inside it on the daily, you have an A, B, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 toward the upside, which is a wave C. Meaning, you have finished here potentially your wave B after having the complex structure, wave A, wave B, and potentially you're looking for an impulse toward the downside for a wave C. Let's dive inside it, and before moving inside it, I would like to mention also be careful from a triangle here formation, which it can be, of course, an A, a B, and a C zigzag toward the upside. And this wave B, of course, can be the triangle formation, which is right now has finished an A, B, C, a D, and an E potentially. We're gonna see, of course, this much more closer. Let's move inside the 2 hours chart for Pepe. On the 2 hours chart, you can see that we have invalidation of this impulse of the bullish scenario. You have potentially here 1, 2, 3. We're still looking for a wave 4 because this is definitely not a wave 5, not an impulse, not a diagonal. 1, 2, 3, wave 4, it took the zone 1, interfering invalidation of bullish, meaning we can relieve here this impulse toward the upside. We stick with the A, B, and a C. After having an A, B, and a C here, you are looking again to an A, B, C toward the downside, where you might have here an impulse or I would say diagonal 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. However, this has went out of the scenario because if you take the low here as a simple trend, you copy paste, of course, here. And sorry, you copy paste this one and you take it, of course, to the high. You see that we already today broke this trend, which means that this diagonal, it cannot really work anymore. This wave 4 is longer than the wave 2. Therefore, something else is unfolding, potentially bullish, where you have, of course, a diagonal again, of course, like a Popcat, the same 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. However, again, zigzag, zigzag, and of course, here can be a zigzag. Maybe here even is much more looking like an impulse, I would say, where you have 1, 2, and then you have 3, 4, 5 for wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. So yes, this is looking like an impulse. Again, bringing us for an ABC potential corrective here because, of course, of the different characteristic of those waves inside this diagonal, which is not allowed. All of them should be zigzag or all of them should be impulsive. So basically, we have an A, B, and a C, which it might unfold, of course, for lower prices. And that means in this case scenario, of course, that you might have here a wave 2. As we mentioned in the before, you can have a kind of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Possibilities, of course, can be high here for a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. And you might have, of course, 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5 for lower. Or definitely can be an A, B, and a C zigzag toward the downside. What does it mean in a bigger overview? Let me explain also. This is the ABC. Let's keep it in mind. So in this case scenario, if you get like ABC zigzag on the daily again, let's go back to the daily to see what does it mean in this case. If you get a zigzag there, this can be still a part of this corrective wave for this triangle. A, B, C, D, and a E. So yeah, the next scenario on the daily is simply the triangle that it might, of course, unfold kind of like potentially zigzag here and therefore moving toward the upside. So I would say we should be careful, of course, with this 4 hours chart here. Leading diagonal is not, of course, very clear that it is a leading diagonal, especially this wave 3 is looking very different than the other one. Therefore, much higher possibility it is corrective. If in case we are bullish, but again, very low possibility, of course, you are currently around the 0.5 level. If you take the 886, don't forget this is a signal that we're moving, of course, for a bearish scenario to take even the low and even lower. All right, so that is for Pepe. Let's move for Dogecoin. On Dogecoin, on the daily again, of course, we start with the daily always, where we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 here, an impulse toward the upside, 4 and a 5, finishing wave 1 or wave A, B, and a C, of course, wave 2, wave B finished as well, followed by a final wave 5. Higher possibility here can be, of course, a wave 3, and that you have kind of like a triangle for a wave 4, and then continuation simply toward the upside for a wave 5. Currently, you can count, of course, A, B, and a C unfinished, and then D and a E. So currently, we might be, of course, in an A, B, and a C. Obviously, this is like 5 waves diagonal toward the downside, which it might be, of course, the zigzag A, B, C, and then continuation, of course, for this triangle, continuation also for higher. Another scenario is a W, X, and you're looking for a wave Y. The wave Y also can be the same zigzag that we're talking about. And final scenario is an A, B, and a C toward the downside, where you might have very low price, of course, which is the 1-to-1 fib level in confluence with the 0.5 retracement here for, of course, this potential correction. And this might be the deepest price, of course, as a regular flat A, B, and a C, and then continuation toward the upside. However, I give higher possibility here for the triangle still, potentially in case we see lower prices, we might see, of course, a zigzag. Now, what are the possibilities for higher prices? Well, on the daily already you have invalidated impulse. There is no impulse in this area, and therefore, of course, Dogecoin is the kind of like corrective sideways. Let's move inside it to see what is next. So basically, on the 2 hours chart again, where we have already very clear 3 ways up, A, B, and a C. We finished a correction 3 ways, when a wave B or in a wave 2, and you're looking at a 1, 2, and then 3, 4, and a 5. Potentially here 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. So, okay, even it can be, but I prefer still right now to keep this 4 and this 5 unfinished. Now, why here is a wave 5 unfinished? Because you have a zigzag, okay? So probably the wave 5 might still finish kind of like a diagonal, yeah. So this is what I'm expecting still, unless, let me dive even inside it to see this wave 5, what is wrong with it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Yes, so that is a problem with it here. There is a problem, of course, where you see 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. The wave 5 also is 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Yeah, very short wave 4, 5. Is it the case scenario? Well, it can be based on the wave 1. Well, I think this is a finished wave 5, guys. So what I mean here, the wave 1 here, 1, 2, is very identical to the wave 5. And that is very normal and understandable when you have a very extended wave 3. Right? So very weird impulse, but it can be where you have, of course, finished a wave 5 here. So basically, I would say, yeah, it can be a finished wave 5. Okay, so if we have finished a wave 5 here, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that means, of course, you're still impulsive toward the downside. And that means that you might have, whether you have a very bearish scenario, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for the zigzag that we mentioned, of course, in the daily, as an A, B, and a C in the blue scenario, or you have a big wave 1, 2, very bearish, of course, which is low possibility. But basically, this can be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, guys, to finish around the 1-to-1 fib level in confluence, I think, with exactly the triangle. Yes, here we go. All right. So yeah, so this is your triangle ABC. Yeah, it can finish exactly at the 1-to-1 fib level in a zigzag. You have already the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 toward the downside. So probably this is the next target for this triangle. Yep, that was it for Popcat, Pepe, and Dogecoin. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your likes and comments, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.